meditation.
I've been in a lot of queer places in my time. Pocket republics like San Marino in Italy and Andorra in Spain, places like Monaco. But last month, in northern Greece, I found one of the strangest of them all, a peninsula virtually cut off from the outside world, a state virtually self-governed, strange and mysterious and beautiful, a place of some 8,000 inhabitants, where there are no women, no roads, and incidentally no advertising. When you come to think of it, rid yourself of those two things, women and motor cars, and most of life's complications and worry disappear immediately. If you go beyond Salonika and over the mountain pass, you come to the peninsula of Mount Athos that juts out into the Aegean Sea. It's a lonely, remote, and utterly beautiful place. Since about 300 AD, this peninsula has been inhabited entirely by monks. Dotted along its length, on high rocky crags and on cliffs above the sea, are huge old monasteries. They're built to withstand the pirate raids. They have great stone walls and battlements. There were 3 of us went, all from Dunedin, Monty McClymont and Mac Miller and myself. We went by jeep across country through villages where they gave us roast pork and a fiery drink called ouzo, as far as even an army jeep can go, which is something. We saw the remains of the great canal that Xerxes tried to cut across the peninsula some 200 years before Christ. When the jeep gave up, we hired a fishing boat, and we sailed along the coast. It was lovely. The water was like glass, and you could see the starfish far below, and Mount Athos looming up away ahead out of the haze. Lying on deck in the sun, we passed the last village on the coast, and there the fisherman pointed out was the frontier guard. Women are forbidden by law to pass this frontier onto the peninsula. In fact, no woman has set foot on Athos since the year 1026, although I believe many have tried. It gave you a sort of relaxed feeling. No women, eh? Said Monty. No women. This is a strange place for you to be in, McIntyre. On the contrary, McClymont, I said, I'm seriously considering becoming a monk. I doubt whether I shall ever leave this place. We put in that evening at a tiny harbour below the great monastery of St. Paul, and as we climbed up the path, the monks came down to meet us, high black caps and robes, and long hair and beards, strange-looking fellows. My first shock was to find them not gloomy and solemn, but gay, even hearty and backslapping. Welcome, welcome, they kept repeating. Eventually, they realized from our shoulder flashes that we were New Zealanders, and immediately chaos reigned. They all wanted to ask us at the same time how Thomas was. Thomas being Colonel Sandy Thomas of the 2NZEF, who, after escaping wounded from a German prison camp near Salonika, was sheltered and nursed by these monks. As they did with several New Zealanders and hundreds of British escaped prisoners, these monks eventually got Colonel Thomas away by boat to Turkey and freedom. They were frequently searched by the Germans, but always managed to hide the soldiers in the forest around the monastery. The young gardener monk who looked after Colonel Thomas was eventually imprisoned by the Germans. Supper was an enormous meal of 6 courses with copious wine, a very gay meal with much laughter and much urging to eat and to drink more. At 11 we managed to escape to bed, the spotless white beds with huge eider dogs. At 1 in the morning, though, all the bells in the monastery began to ring. I turned over with a deep, luxurious sigh. These monks go into church and pray from 1 in the morning until dawn. About 3 I was wakened again to hear a gong, a huge wooden gong beaten in a sort of broken rhythm. Then a bell took up the rhythm, filling all the monastery with a pulsating sound. It was for all the world like being in Tibet. By boat again the next day, round the coast, past the hermit huts. These hermits live all alone, each in a tiny cabin, clinging incredibly to the cliff face high above the sea. Their food, dry bread and water only, is brought by boat and hauled up by rope. It's interesting to note that these old boys thrive on this diet, and almost all live to go to about 90. To their last days, they are able to clamber up and down the cliff like youngsters. A storm forced us ashore at the Cape, and we climbed on foot to a Romanian monastery where they fed us on raw salt fish, wild honey, and brown bread, in a room strangely enough hung with gaudy old lithographs of battle scenes. Among them, Most incongruous in this place, I thought, was a scene of the relief of Ladysmith. From there we travelled by donkey through wild mountainous country. The paths are tortuous and steep and rough, led round rocky cliffs and through deep forests. 2 of us had nasty spills, donkey and all. We would come to a monastery, sheer stone walls and narrow gate, silent and forbidding. Sometimes Mac and Monty, sitting on their donkeys under some battlemented wall, gazing upwards, would look to me for all the world just like Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. At Lavra, wealthiest and oldest monastery, we saw a whole library of ancient manuscripts, priceless things, dating back to about the 4th century, some of them, which preserved the whole history of the Byzantine Empire. There were the robes and the jewelled crowns of the ancient patriarchs of Byzantium. There were quivers of arrows used 800 years ago to defend this very monastery against pirates. In the courtyard, a beautiful, peaceful courtyard, is a huge tree that, by the monastery records, will be 1,000 years old in 13 years' time. Although it has been rebuilt several times, this monastery was first built about 300 AD. After another long journey by donkey, we reached the capital, Carriers. Surely one of the strangest in the world. There's streets and shops and guest hostels and churches, but no women, no motor cars, no shop signs, no street signs. By law, no shopkeeper may put up his name or any other sign. You may not even ride your donkey through the capital. You must dismount and walk. These monks, too, have no sense of time whatever. Their day begins at dawn, so that what you might think to be 7 o'clock in the morning is, according to them, 2 o'clock. Their calendar is 13 days behind ours. In Athos, you may think it's 8 o'clock on July the 4th, but you're quite wrong. According to them, it's 3 o'clock on June the 21st. The whole thing leaves you in a state of suspicious bewilderment. The committee, or parliament, meets in the capital, 1 representative from each monastery. We were awakened at 6:30 in the morning, our own time, to meet the representatives. And you think of it, parliament in session at 7 in the morning. We had no breakfast, the monks only eat 2 meals a day, and we were marched in with great ceremony. Promptly round came the trays of ouzo. At 7 in the morning at a parliamentary session, it was almost too much. After many flowery speeches, we bade farewell and led our donkeys off through this strangest of capitals. We rode down to the coast and to our fishing boat with a feeling of coming out into another world. So it was farewell to Mount Athos, land of no women. We drove next day into Salonika, and there in front of the hotel was a woman, a little Australian Red Cross girl we had met on our way through. Her name was Penny. "Penny," I said, "you've no idea how glad I am to see you."